Welcome to Talkin' Giants, presented by John Boy Media and DraftKings Sportsbook. My name is Justin Pennick, and with me today is my good friend Danny Boy King. Bobby Skinner, his grandfather's going through some health problems, so everybody say a little prayer for Bobby Skinner and family. Talking Giants versus the world. Got some good shirts, by the way. I just took the opportunity to promote shirts while talking about Bobby Skinner's grandfather, who was in big health problems and having
Absolute
health troubles.
sellout.
So bad guy move. Danny Boy King, you are joining me here today to talk about some Giants and some edge rusher review, outside linebackers. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing good. I mean, you got to sell out every chance you get. Got to get those paychecks up a little higher. Don't hate it.
Yeah.
But I'm doing good. It's just upstate New York weather. Cold, really cold. Snowing. A lot of it.
Do you have a basketball team up there?
We do. It's
Are
not
they good?
good.
It's not good.
We're Division 3. They just do their thing.
They do their thing. I love it. So we got a little snow in the tri-state area today. How much snow did you get up by you? We got 2 inches.
Oh, definitely more than that. I woke up and it was like full on whiteout.
Great. You want to know what else is great news? Danny King.
This is great news.
New Jersey had a big day today. The state of New Jersey had a big day. We'll get to some Giants news, and then we'll get to our edge rusher outside linebacker review of the year. New Jersey had a big day today. First of all, they legalized weed, which cool if
Massive
you like that.
W for Jersey. Massive W.
Massive W.
Giants fans are going to need that after watching this team next year.
That is true. Giants and Jets fans after the game, instead of kicking glass and smashing glass in the parking lot, so I don't have to play. So I don't have to act like it's a maze in the parking lot, so I don't run over glass. Just light one up. I love it.
Fix all the problems.
And then also there will be 15, and this is as of right now. So, I mean, regardless, there's percentages that came out where we can start to attend sporting events today. I think it's 10% indoor, 15% outdoor. Regardless, the numbers are going to change by September. But what it means today is that we can celebrate that on February 22nd and on February 23rd, when everybody's listening and watching, we can celebrate that. Yes, we know for a fact that we are most likely going to Giants games in the fall. And that very much excites me. I have been blasting there. Danny, there's been a reason why I've been blasting Back in the New York Groove this past weekend. I was playing it over and over and over again. I was missing Giants games. There's a reason. It's like my spidey senses were tingling. Everything was tingling in my body. And we're back, baby. We're back in the New York Groove.
I could be that guy. I'd be like, oh, technically it's the New Jersey group, but I'm not going to be that guy, even though I just made the comment. No, I mean, I'm excited. Obviously, I don't care about New Jersey sporting events until like September, when that's when the Giants will actually start, and that's when I'll focus on getting tickets. But just them starting now hopefully means it'll only get bigger. Maybe it could be like by the time Giants games start, maybe it's at 50%, maybe even above that at that point. And just to get into a football stadium would be great, because the last sporting event I went to, I mean, I can't complain. My last sporting event was the Super Bowl, but it's been a year since I've been at a sporting event, and man, I miss it. That's why I'm so pumped. I know this is a Giants show, but to go to Mets games this year, but just to get back at Giants Stadium, because those fans are wild. Giants fans are a different breed of people.
Yeah, it's a cool day. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting a little symbolic about it. Today, like I was just celebrating all day, like all caps. I tweeted Back in the New York Groove. This weekend I tweeted out like a picture from my seats. I did section 315, row 16, seats 13, 14. I tweeted that out from the Bleeding Blue account, and that was it. That was the tweet. I don't know. I'm getting a little symbolic. I'm missing it. Number one, I'm kind of craving it, but also, feeling like hopefully, we're closer to the finish of this crappy year, this crappy, 2020, and the crappy year that it's been kind of so far. We're closer to the finish line than we are to the start. And this is like a good feeling of like, yes, like we are kind of arriving at it. So that's the big news. Apparently, how do you interpret Wayne Gallman tweeting out a smiley face over the weekend?
I'm hoping it means he's coming back, because I want him back, but I know he's not coming back. What if down deep he didn't like being a Giant? Because really, if I were Wayne Gallman, I probably wouldn't enjoy being a Giant. I probably wouldn't. Oh no, I mean he's been disrespected by like multiple, like Pat Shermer literally he disappeared on the Pat Shermer. And I still don't understand to this day. I still don't understand. And I mean he was great at 2017, but like he got no respect for what he did to help that team at least attempt to win. They didn't do much of it, but he attempted to help them win. Then obviously last year was Saquon being injured was like the greatest thing to happen to him in a contract year. He looked like he could be a quality number one running back for some teams in the NFL. And I think maybe his agent said, hey, some teams are interested in you. You're going to get a nice fat contract. Not fat, but
nice fat contract for running backs, which is unfortunate. It's unfortunate for the position. It's unfortunate for them that, you know, they're very skilled football players, but NFL teams kind of aren't budging. But maybe there is a market for Wayne Gallman, and maybe his agent kind of maybe did give him the heads up. Did I just say Marcus Golden?
Yeah, you did.
Wow, I had Marcus Golden on the brain because we're going to be talking about him soon. But maybe his agent gave him a little nudge and said, "Hey, Wayne Gallman, not Marcus Golden. Hey, Wayne Gallman, there's going to be a little bit of a market for you." And maybe he got the tip that the Giants are not going to want you back. So then he tweeted the smiley face saying, "I'm done with this organization that didn't really give me a chance until they absolutely had to when their number one guy tore their ACL." Which good for him. But also at the same time, Giants still do need a number two running back. So
Alfred Morris does this. Also, I'm throwing this out there. I think Wayne Gallman is going to be a Jet. They got the money. They need a running back. Affordable enough.
Yeah, they're not going to go after a flashy guy again.
No. Last time that happened, it went so wrong. It was amazing how wrong it went.
Yeah, but that's a good option because you're talking about Jets trying to revitalize their offensive line. Wayne Gallman may be he's definitely an efficient running back. If there's one thing that we learned this year, you know, from an offensive line that may not be working that well, he's an efficient guy that's just going to chip away and get a few yards. I don't know if the Jets are going to be looking for home run hitters. So, you know, that may be a good signing. I like that prediction. So Danny, I tasked you within the hour that we were told that we were recording together. I tasked you. I said, is there any news? And we thought of two, and Simple Man Radio gave us the recommendation for the Wayne Gallman smiley tweet. And then weed being legalized, which is very prevalent to the Giants. And then MetLife Stadium. Possibly, you know, we're going to be going to games. Is there any other news that we have to talk about?
Do we mention the Marcus Golden thing? Because like
we're going to.
Okay.
We're going to, because it's very important in talking about kind of like the philosophy of the Giants and particularly this Joe Judge and Patrick Graham coaching staff of how they approach their edge rushers. So we're going to talk about that. But first, Danny, your basketball team that you go to school, your basketball team probably not going to be making March Madness anytime soon, right?
No, because they're Division 3.
Division 3.
They'll never make it.
What's your favorite college basketball team? Do you have one?
I can't say I do.
That's unfortunate.
You know, I'll go throw out a name. Wolverines.
Michigan.
Yes.
I'm a Gonzaga fan. I'm a big fan. I work at a Jesuit school. I went to a Jesuit high school 4 years, went to a Jesuit college 4 years. So now I'm on my 9th year of being like somewhat in a Jesuit institution. So Gonzaga, that's the team that I've always kind of repped. But it's just by affiliation. It's not because I actually like them. But Danny Boy King, it's not quite time for the madness of March. That is college basketball in March, but that doesn't mean the fun has to wait. Danny, DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is giving all new players the chance to cash $100. New customers can bet $1 on any team to hit a three-pointer in any basketball game this week. And if your team makes it, you can rain your cash and you can bring in $100. That's right. All it takes is one three-pointer being hit by your chosen team to turn $1 into $100. Sounds like a no-brainer. This slam dunk of an offer won't be around forever, so head to the App Store now, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, and get in on all of the action. If basketball isn't for you, DraftKings Sportsbook has daily odds on hockey, soccer, and so much more. I've been told the Knicks are back. It's all that Nicky Snacks' tweets. Like if you want to hear Nicky Snacks' analysis on the New York Knicks, it's him tweeting that the Knicks are back. So there you go. That's what you're going to get out of him. DraftKings has paid out over $7 billion to its customers since 2012. That's $7 billion with the B. So they know a thing or two about big paydays. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code JOHNBOY to get your shot to turn $1 into $100 when you bet on any team to hit a three-pointer in any basketball game this week. That's promo code JOHNBOY for new customers to get a shot at $100. To get a shot at 100 to 1 odds on any basketball team to hit a three-point shot only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 years or older. NJ, Indiana, Michigan, or Virginia only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. Winnings paid out in 4 $25 free bets. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or in Indiana 1-800-9-WITH-IT or in Virginia 888-532-3500. Danny King, I always love hearing Tom Coughlin's voice. So let's take a break, even though we're early in the show. Take a break, and then let's talk about the edge position. All right, welcome back to the show. Thank you, Tom Coughlin, for always bringing us back from our breaks. Fun fact, Bleeding Blue, shameless plug. So many shameless plugs. I had to plug the Talking Giants versus the World shirts when Bobby's grandfather, I give the news about Bobby's grandfather. And now I'm going to give the shameless plug for Bleeding Blue. We just started to read the book, and I'm forgetting what it's called. Bad guy move again. Bad guy move.
Ooh, hang on, we're gonna stall here as Justin attempts to find the book
Team to
name.
Believe in.
Oh, A Team to Believe in, of course.
Tom Coughlin wrote a book about the 2007 Super Bowl team called A Team to Believe in, and Snacks is starting to moderate the first couple chapters. So check out Bleeding Blue. We're on the Talking Giants YouTube channel. We're also our own podcast if you want to check us out. And we talk about winning Giants football, 2007 Giants football, and Tom Coughlin. Who doesn't like that? Danny King.
Justin Panic.
We are reviewing the edge rusher spot.
We are
edge
indeed.
Rusher position.
As the toilet gets flushed behind me.
That's
that's the perfect. Actually, that describes the edge rusher position right now to perfection.
That's true. It's very true. So I'm going to read something. We're going to go player by player. Largely, the order that we have everything in is in the percentage of the snaps that they played, right? But about nine players. Now, David Mayo lined up on the edge sometimes. You're always going to have Blake Martinez, who lining up on the edge. You're going to have maybe Jabril Peppers, Xavier McKinney, or Logan Ryan, coming in on blitzes. Maybe they're being counted as lining up by the edge. But we're counting 9 players totally accumulating into the stats that I'm about to read. 9 edge rushers. Think of the edge rusher position and who would count as an outside linebacker on the Giants this year. 9 players, and this includes Marcus Golden as well. Total sacks, 9.5. 9 players had 9.5 sacks this year for the Giants. Total QB hits, 27. Total pressures, 55. Now, Danny, here is Leonard Williams' basic stat line from this year. 11.5 sacks, which is 2 sacks more than 9 total players had for the Giants edge position. 30 QB hits, which is 3 more QB hits than Giants edge rushers had, and 42 pressures, which is 13 pressures less than what Giants edge rushers has. And if you're thinking, 13 pressures is a lot. Well, the difference between Leonard Williams, basically leading, this whole charge of the 9-player total and himself, basically the difference is Kyler Fackrell had 14 QB pressures. So that's the difference right there. Kyler Fackrell's season of 14 QB pressures is the difference. So I don't want to turn this into a we need to re-sign Leonard Williams rant. I don't want to turn it into that.
You did a good job of making it into a we need to re-sign Leonard Williams little segment right there. And in the edge rusher segment, we're not even talking about on the line. We're on the edge.
No, but I think it shows, number one, kind of how important he is.
Oh, yeah.
But also, number 2, the lack of production the Giants had at edge this year. But also, number 3, how insane it is that the Giants had such a lack of production at the edge spot, but still were practically an above average defensive unit this year.
What hurt this unit the most was the moment Lorenzo Carter went down. the moment he went down is when this unit truly like went downhill. Like it was already not the best unit in the world, but the moment he went down, because it looked like he was on track to have like a career type, his best season to date. At least his play was much better in the first half of the year than it has been in his previous two. But the moment he went down is the moment this unit needed help.
Yeah, and it's crazy because, Carter was playing like 90% of the snaps, and we'll talk about it when we kind of get to him. But the Giants weren't valuing their edge rushers as guys as we typically think. Edge rusher as get to the quarterback. That was not the number one priority for how Joe Judge and this Patrick Graham staff use their guys. And we'll kind of just kick off. We'll kick off the segment kind of talking about this because Danny, you mentioned it just a couple minutes ago. Marcus Golden just put out a tweet. Now PFF had, they were talking about how teammates accumulated for 50 plus pressures in 2020. And Marcus Golden had a total of 55 QB pressures this year, according to PFF. Now, they always overestimate QB pressures compared to Pro Football Reference. We always use Pro Football Reference whenever we're on Talking Giants. And Reddick, his teammate in Arizona, they both had 55 QB pressures. Now, Marcus Golden quote tweets that tweet and says, "Now just imagine if New York would have let me play earlier in the season," shaking my head, which was like, whoa.
After I didn't think there was animosity. Actually, I'm not surprised there's animosity between the two because the Giants placed that tag on it that basically no other team wanted to sign him. Yeah. And that was such like a, I'm not sure. I can't think of an appropriate word to use, but it definitely
it was a crappy thing, but it's also business. It was a business move.
Oh, it's business move. I would say it's like more an SCU, and then you can find the other letter tag right next there, and then but.
See you next Tuesday.
It was a smart move, but for a player like Marcus Golden, who had his best year since that ACL surgery, to come back, be like, "Oh, I'm going to get a nice contract," and then no teams are offering it to him, and then the Giants get like the big grin across their face, they're like, "Oh, we can screw him," and they place that tag on him, and then it's like, "We'll see you here in July, baby."
And then he played 30% of the snaps. That was also the crazy part. You had a player that had that had 10 sacks, a double-digit sack guy the year before. And it wasn't even like he had double-digit sacks and he wasn't getting pressure on the QB. No, he was getting pressure on the QB. Hence why I loved Marcus Golden and I knew that he can do well. Similar to Leonard Williams. Leonard Williams was able to get pressure on the quarterback, but the only difference between Leonard Williams and Marcus Golden in 2019 is that 2019, Marcus Golden, he finished the job and he got those sacks. So it was very, very strange. And actually, he just liked my reply. Breaking news. I replied to Marcus Golden's tweet and I said, "Good for you, big dog. Call him out and get your bag." And he liked the reply.
I did respond. I did delete the tweet because it was just not going to go over well. I responded with a "who?" and
that's mean.
I deleted it because I was like, I'm going to get lambasted for this one.
That's me because Danny, you look at the 9 players accumulating in the 9.5 total sacks that Giants edge rushers had this year. 27 QB hits, 55 QB pressures. That is not a lot. There are some players that put up those numbers like on their own. 55 QB pressures is a lot, but 9.5 total sacks and 27 QB hits. That's not out of the question for one singular edge rusher to put up by themselves in a given season, in a given year. And Marcus Golden was our best pass rusher, even at the time that which we traded him. So let's start talking about the players, and then we can continue talking about the Giants coaches' philosophy of how they treated their edge rushers. So let's start off with Kyler Fackrell. Kyler Fackrell is 6'5", 245 pounds. He was drafted in the 3rd round of the 2016 NFL draft. He is 29 years old. He just turned 29 in November. This year, he played in 12 total games. He had 4 sacks, 10 QB hits, 7 tackles for loss, 34 tackles, 23 of them solo, and he had a total of 14 pressures. Another significant stat is that he did have a 17% missed tackle rate. He had 7 missed tackles, which is kind of a decent amount, but I don't remember any glaring moments of saying, "Oh, Kyler Fackrell missed that tackle and that was bad." And the total amount of snaps that he played was 55% of the total snaps in 12 games. He did miss some time due to an injury, so he missed those 4 games. So
do you remember the injury? What was the injury again?
That's a good question. Say
Because he just disappeared, and I was like, oh, Fackrell's gone.
well, he was put. I think he was put on one of those IR
Oh,
lists,
IR,
and
yes. I
he was
forgot
put on
the
one of those
IR was
IR,
different.
those 4-game designations. So, Danny King, give me kind of like your thoughts on Kyler Fackrell's season, and we'll talk about like what do we do, because he was signed to a 1-year deal this past offseason. So then we'll get to what do we kind of do with him.
Well, obviously, this was his first year back under Patrick Graham, and when he was with Patrick Graham, that was like his best season to date. Like it was by far. I think he had 10.5 sacks. He had like Marcus Golden type numbers, and then obviously Green Bay went out and brought in Preston Smith, Zadarius Smith, and his numbers went down. And so bringing Kyler Fackrell in made sense, and he wasn't awful by any stretch. He wasn't great. He wasn't like world beater, but he wasn't awful. He did what the Giants expect him to do. He got in, got some pressures, got some sacks, made some tackles, made some plays for a loss. He did what he had to do. He had that amazing INT. And I use everyone's favorite friend, PFF. I didn't use their grades. No, there will not be a mention of a grade on here. But I wanted just to look at it, see like which side did he perform the best on. And majority of his snaps came from the right side, pass rushing wise. One guy pass rushing. He had 166 pass rushes sacks. He got all 4 sacks from that side, 5 hits, 8 hurries. They gave him a pass rush productivity grade of a 6.3. And for people who want to know what that is, it's a rating that measures pressures created on a per snap basis weighted with more towards sacks. So his right side was his best side, left side, not the best, obviously. But he did what the Giants needed him to do. And I will be honest with you. I'm not sure if we're going to discuss I can't speak English right now, but I would not be mad if he's brought back on a 1-year deal, or if they want to give a 2-year team friendly deal. I would be down for that, because I don't know teams right now that are going to go out of their way and sign Kyler Fackrell. At least I don't know what his market looks like at the moment, but he had a solid year by any stretch of the imagination.
No, the edge rusher market in the NFL, right now, and also, what it has been in years past, it's been suspect. I mean, you just asked Jadeveon Clowney. Yannick Ngakoue has been traded to, how many NFL teams when he's looking for an NFL contract and he hasn't even got it yet. He's still looking for his NFL contract. And also just ask Marcus Golden how the NFL edge rusher market is. So I think it's kind of essential to bring back Kyler Fackrell, because he didn't have a Marcus Golden year where he should be looking for good money, right? He didn't have that year. So he shouldn't be looking for good money. Now, in 12 games, I think, maybe if he plays on a 16-game rate, add another sack. 12 games is 75% of the season. So if you have 4 sacks, you add another sack. He was on pace for 5 sacks. Maybe add maybe 3 QB hits in there for 4 games, maybe 2 QB hits, to 2 to 3. So that's 12 QB hits. You definitely want there to be a little bit more consistent pressure on the quarterback. But we also knew that heading into his year that he had in 2018, the big year with Patrick Graham, he got a decent amount of sacks, but the consistent pressure on the quarterback wasn't really there. It wasn't like Leonard Williams was getting 1.5 sacks, but he was having all these pressures and all these QB hits. No, Fackrell, when he got home, he got home. Like, he was, when he hit the quarterback, he was getting his sacks. So we knew that heading into this year that Kyler Fackrell wasn't really going to have a renaissance year of maybe getting like 30 QB pressures. But also what the Giants love about Kyler Fackrell, and the reason why he got 55% of the snaps, and he was getting more snaps than Golden and O'Shane Ximenez, is they like balance. They like balance. We're talking about getting to the quarterback, but Kyler Fackrell, the Giants viewed him just as valuable in terms of his ability to stop the run and be a versatile player, on first and second down, as much as they maybe liked him on third down, in terms of that's what Patrick Graham wanted to do. And that's what Joe Judge wants. They talk about versatility all the time, and they truly showed it personified in who they decided to give the snaps to, especially early in the season.
And I also think what also hurt Marcus Golden in the long term was he didn't have the preseason to go out there and show like Patrick Graham that he's better than Kyler Fackrell. Yeah. Patrick Graham has a better relationship with Kyler Fackrell than he does with Marcus Golden. And Marcus Golden was on the Giants for one man and one man only. It was just for James Betcher. If James Betcher wasn't here, Marcus Golden would be a Giant. That's just a fact of life. Now, obviously, the Giants, I think you should bring it back because he already knows the system. He's a safety piece. You know what you're going to get from him. There is one guy out there that I would take the risk on if it means losing out on not Marcus Golden. What's his name?
Kyler Fackrell.
Kyler Fackrell. His name's Bud Dupree. I look at it from this point of view. Giants signed Marcus Golden coming off that nasty injury. He came out, had a career, had his best season to date, or it was a great bounce back year. Bud Dupree, low risk, high high reward, high risk. You sign him, he may be terrible, he may be not the player he once was. If he's still the same, then you got to see yourself a solid edge rusher. This is dependent on Pittsburgh's not bringing it back, because Pittsburgh is paying Ben Roethlisberger $43 million a year, which is outrageous. So if you can't get Bud Dupree, you get Kyler Fackrell. If you can get Bud Dupree, you bring him in. No doubt in my mind.
I think Bud Dupree has a little bit better of a resume versus Kyler Fackrell. So, I mean, I think you would have to spend a little bit more, but you're totally right about the whole second year coming off your torn ACL. I've said it a million times on this podcast, the fantasy football data, and, I don't look at a ton of fantasy football data, but I look at the stuff that actually matters. And this is the stuff that matters. Your second year coming off your torn ACL, that's usually when you have your career best year. So, hey, Bud Dupree. I don't know if do the Giants value him as a two-way player. That's the only thing. I really don't think the Giants are going to pay a guy unless you're a two-way player. If you're just a pass rusher, then they're not really going to invest that much in you. And that's why I think when we kind of move on to Lorenzo Carter and Ximenez, kind of just put the bow on Kyler Fackrell, I think it's kind of essential that you bring him back because of the other options that are available at edge this offseason, including free agency and the draft, the limited options at edge, might I add. But then also, because you have two other players, Lorenzo Carter and Ximenez, that are pretty much coming off of major injuries themselves. So we'll go to Lorenzo Carter. Lorenzo Carter, 6'5", 250 pounds. He is 25 years old. He was drafted in the third round, 66 overall in the 2018 NFL draft. Lorenzo Carter obviously had a short season, but I still think he very much left the mark, like you said earlier in the episode, Danny. Lorenzo Carter, he had 1 sack, 4 QB hits, 7 pressures, and 23% of the total defensive snaps in 4 games. He kind of started 5, but he got hurt very, very early in that Cowboy game. He was playing about 90% of the snaps. There was one game where he had 65% of the snaps. But there was a point where he was playing 90% of the snaps, Danny. Kind of give me some thoughts on Lorenzo Carter's season, how, the mark that he left on you, and where you kind of view him right now, even coming off of injury.
2019, I predicted his 2019. I said that's going to be his year. No, it wasn't. It was not the best of years for Lorenzo Carter. It's a step back from 2018. Then 2020, I was like, oh, this dude's having a year. Then the Achilles injury happened. The Giants pass, as I said, it took a dip when he went down, and that's my concern right now. It's not like ACL injuries, those suck, you could come back from them though. Achilles injuries are something totally different. We don't know what he's lost, because he's lost something. Did he lose some speed? Did he lose some mobility? What did he lose? It's an injury that is devastating, and it's one that you lose something from it. What did he lose? And I know I saw on your thing, you talked about could Lorenzo Carter be considered a free agent signing in a way, like him and Ocean, or you wrote something along those lines. I'll let you explain that. But Lorenzo Carter, I do have my concerns with him. I love the guy. He's my Michael Strahan because of the teeth. But there is serious concern I have about Lorenzo Carter. It's upsetting. It was a great play. He was a great player last year, and when he went down, it was devastating because he was the best edge rusher we had. But what has he lost? And that's something we're gonna have to figure out in OTAs if they have been in training camp.
Name me another player that's better during this year. We had training camp. We saw the scrimmages. Name me a better player in training camp and scrimmages than I keep on saying Marcus Golden. It's because I love him. Name me a better player than Lorenzo Carter. You can't.
Corey Coleman.
Mutes microphone quickly. We were calling. Hey, my favorite thing about the Talking Giants account during the summer is whenever we would call Lorenzo Carter the next Lawrence Taylor.
Whenever every sack he had, I just said, "Oh, there goes Lawrence Taylor again, dominating the game." And everyone's like, "That's Lorenzo Carter."
Have you ever watched football? And people thinking that you're serious, and then they go on a huge rant about what is Twitter? How many characters is Twitter?
280.
Well, they go on a 279 character rant about, did you ever watch Lawrence Taylor? Lawrence Taylor is the greatest football player to ever live. Oh my God.
That was the moment he went down. That was honestly the saddest thing about that. Not that he tore his Achilles. The moment, it was me thinking, man, I can't do Lawrence Taylor jokes anymore.
You're really choosing violence, but really Lorenzo Carter's season, I think most of it was impressive. And I'm not going to come out here and say Lorenzo Carter's, impressive 4-game stretch. Now included 1 sack, included a QB hit in 3 of them, and he didn't have a QB hit in the Rams game. He didn't really stuff the stat sheet that much. He also had 2 tackles for loss. I don't know if I said the 2 tackles for loss in his total for the season, but Lorenzo, I don't want to say he was the beneficiary of playing like 90% of the snaps, but he kind of was. But I'm also not going to fault him for the Giants coaching staff valuing him as a versatile player that can play 90% of the snaps. That's kind of big. You usually don't see players that are, edge rushers, pass rushers that are out there for every snap. Especially the defensive linemen are constantly rotating in and out. You have your situational pass rushers. You have your situational packages. I keep on saying Marcus Golden. Lorenzo Carter was ultimately part of all of those packages, including, I think this coaching staff especially appreciated his ability to play in coverage as well. So, Danny, it's such a good point you bring up with the Achilles injury, because it's I'm not smart enough to really be like, oh, well, he's just going to come back from injury. And you
I'm not either. Or maybe I'm completely wrong, and he just comes back and is like literally the next Lawrence Taylor. I don't know.
No, but an Achilles injury is for real. Like that is a thing that is definitely for real. So my whole point is, and we can talk about this with Ximenez too, because Ximenez is another guy with very limited production. And even when he was playing for the team, he didn't get a ton of snaps. And that was the main difference between Ximenez and Lorenzo Carter's year. They were both very short, but Lorenzo Carter was getting like 90% of the snaps. There wasn't a game where Ximenez started and he got more than 60% of the snaps. So we'll talk about him, and then I want to talk about both of them collectively together, Lorenzo Carter and O'Shane, in their role in 2021. So Ximenez, 6'4", 252 pounds. He's 24 years old. He was drafted in the 3rd round, 95th overall in the 2019 NFL draft. His 2020 season was, like I said, was very short. No sacks, 5 total tackles, 4 of them solo, 1 tackle for loss, 3 QB hits. Still found a way to play 11% of the defensive snaps, which, yes, that is more than a lot of the other guys that we have listed here. That's more than Niko Lalos. That's more than Cam Brown. That's more than Carter Coughlin, I believe. So 11% of the defensive snaps. Danny, he was actually putting together like solidly productive games, which now I've kind of forgot I didn't read his advanced stuff. So Ximenez, 3 QB hits, 5 QB pressures, 11% of the snaps in 4 games. There was not a single game where he got more than 60% of the snaps. So I think Ximenez was going to have one of those years where maybe even if he didn't get the sacks, right? Because if he wasn't getting the pass rushing opportunities, he wasn't really going to accumulate the sacks. But I think we were going to really look back at O'Shane's year. Let's just say the depth chart stays totally intact. Lorenzo Carter doesn't get hurt. Fackrell doesn't get hurt. Even if Golden's traded, right? Because we were losing at that point. Golden could have been traded for a 6th-round pick. Sure. I think we would have ended the season saying Ximenez had a solid year with the amount of pressures, with the amount of consistent pressure that he got on the quarterback. Now, it's such a low sample size, and it was such a low total snap share that he had, where it's not fair to say that would have worked over 16 games. But I'm still not ready to say that Ximenez is not going to work for the team.
Yeah, you can't say he's gonna work for the team, and you can't say he's not gonna work because we haven't seen much on him. I think the long-term goal for the Giants was, if no injuries happen between him and Carter, that Carter was going to be on the right side, Ximenez is on the left side. They would have Fackrell start, and then slowly Fackrell would lose his snaps to Ximenez and give him that experience, because you look at it, he had 30 pass rush snaps on the left side, 25 on the right. So he was playing more on the left side when he was using in the pass rush game. But the jury's just still out on him.
How many total pass rushing snaps did he have?
Oh boy, quick math here. 5, and then 55.
He had a total of 55, and let's see, how many total snaps did he play this year? He played 110. So he did have slightly more, snaps where he was defending the run versus rushing the passer. But obviously, when you put out, most of the time when you put out a player, you can kind of predict what's going to happen. If you put out a player on 3rd down, he's largely going to be rushing the passer, right? Because 3rd down is a throwing down. So I thought it would be a little bit more overwhelming, but clearly, and here's the wild thing, the Giants were not viewing Ximenez as a full-time starter when, frankly, Bobby and I, we were talking over the summer in our PPPs, our player profile and projections. What we were talking about was, Ximenez has to be the guy to take that next step. We didn't think it was going to be Lorenzo Carter because we thought that Ximenez was the more natural pass rusher, but the Giants value two-way players. So Danny, here's my main question to you. You alluded to it earlier. Because of the weak market that is present for edge rushers in free agency. Yes, Shaq Barrett's out there. Don't think the Giants are going to get him. But Dupree's out there, which that's a fair possibility if the Giants view him as a fit, right? But there's not a lot of, I know Shaq Lawson, people like to talk about Shaq Lawson too. And even in the draft, where's the edge rusher that's really going to, maybe change what the Giants are doing? Do the Giants really want to take another gander on a second or a third round? I would even like a second round edge rusher. Do the Giants really want to take another gander on a third or a fourth round edge rusher and just hoping that he can eventually develop? Question mark? I don't know if they want to do that. So Danny, do the Giants view, because of the weak edge market that is in the draft and free agency this year, do the Giants view Lorenzo Carter and Ximenez getting them back from injury as free agent acquisitions? I think they can spin it.
They could spin it in that way, but here's my problem. Carter, Achilles, we already went over that. O'Shane, here's my thing. I was joking about D3 before. Old Dominion's D3. He wasn't playing against the best of competition. That's just a fact of life. He wasn't playing the greatest competition. He was great at Old Dominion, but now we're in the NFL. There is a player out there. You look at the likes of Rashad Weaver, a solid player out of Pitt University. I think I had him mocked in the second, maybe late first, I believe. Don't quote me on that. That's a solid option to replace either O'Shane or Carter. Or there's the edge out of Miami, not Gregory, Jalen Phillips, who filled in for Gregory and had a great year, but there's a history of concussions. He had nasty injuries when he was at UCLA. He retired from football. He came back in 2020 in that role. They could spin it that way, but there's no shot the Giants should feel comfortable. Lorenzo Carter on Achilles injury, Ximenez not off a serious injury, but hasn't showed the world yet that he can be what the Giants want him to be. They can't feel overly confident that he's their guy. Also, my next thing with Ximenez, why did he wait so long for that shoulder surgery? Why did they hold it off?
Strange. It was very strange because I actually made a 5 keys to victory video. Ximenez is going to play. He was like a key to victory for that game that he was going to come back. And then it's like, nope, we're electing for surgery. So it had to be something like last minute where they thought he can come back. He thought that we can do it. We thought that we can do it. And then he might've gotten some tests the day before the game, which that's what it was. We got the news the day before the game. And then he might've re-aggravated something during rehab and then he had to get the surgery. So
no, it had to be something like that because the Giants, they shouldn't. If that was the case, they must have expected to come back, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, yeah, I can't." The doctor said, "No, it ain't possible." Yeah. But to answer your question, they can spin it that way. But the Giants right now with their edge rusher positions, if they trot that out there and say these guys can get the job done, I don't believe them right now.
I don't think they have another choice. Now, I'm not really viewing there was a PFF tweet. And I actually really like this, and I should have bookmarked it. We didn't have a lot of time to prep for this episode, so you're in it with us. But I'm enjoying this conversation.
We respect the edge guys. We respect you guys. You're very important to.
We do. No, this is honestly such a very, very important conversation, especially because as it relates to what do you do with Dalvin? What do you do with Leonard Williams? Do you bring both of those guys back? If you bring both of those guys back, how does it impact what you could possibly do at the edge spot in free agency? Because then you're basically looking at the draft, but really there's nobody at 11 that really is going to, really sway the needle at all in terms of, is anybody at edge going to dissuade us from picking either a stud cornerback, Kyle Pitts, or a stud wide receiver, right? Those are the options right now, or Micah Parsons, if you like Micah Parsons, right? Which Micah Parsons, a lot of people say that he can go at edge, but I don't see it. Like, I don't see that. I don't. You did something. Team. You did. What did you just say?
I said, I don't want Parsons on this football team.
You don't want Parsons on the football
team? No. I don't want him anywhere near this.
Yeah, and I also don't
Not
get
first play.
Well, I don't know. Was that all confirmed? We'll talk draft month. We'll talk about Micah
that's
Parsons.
Draft month conversation.
Yeah.
Well, the Giants have an inside with Sean Clifford, so he would know best about Micah Parsons.
They do, but still, I don't like the idea of drafting a player at 11 and then it's like, okay, we're going to ask you to change positions now. Don't. It's like the same thing with Isaiah Simmons. It's like, do you have a position or do you not have a position in the NFL? I think they just may have to pitch it. I think that's what they may have to do. Or just, again, talk themselves into another second round, third round, fourth round edge rusher and say, we hope that he develops. And Dave Gettleman actually has the good point of, now I think this is a good point, or it could just be an excuse for lack of developing players because of how young these guys are. And we're going to get to somebody who's really young in Cam Brown. Cam Brown and Carter Coughlin are both very young. Carter Coughlin's 23. Cam Brown is 22. I am older than Cam Brown. I am older than him. He was born in April of 1998. I was born in March of 1998, which is nuts, which is crazy. So he has the point because guys are graduating school earlier and they're coming into the NFL earlier. Dave Gettleman says this, that they need like their 3 years. Like it's not year 2 that they rock and roll. It's really year 3. And that's why it's so unfortunate that, we lost Lorenzo Carter, which year 3, it really did look like, hey, Dave Gettleman was kind of right. He was kind of coming onto the scene. And Ximenez, it's unfortunate that he lost that year of development. But just looking at the options that the Giants have, I'm scared where we may just have to believe that Lorenzo Carter and Ximenez are the guys.
I am telling you though, for the people who like.
All right, let's take a break and talk about Manscaped. Is there anything better than the fresh mowed grass at the ballpark on opening day? Baseball is coming up soon. John Boy Media, kind of known for being a baseball company. How about freshly groomed balls? Balls with a Z. Our sponsors at Manscaped, the global leaders in below the waist grooming, are here to help you strike out your bush for good. It's a whole new balls game, folks. I like the play on words. It's a whole new balls game, folks. And Manscaped is trusted by over 2 million men worldwide. Join the movement. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code GIANTS at manscaped.com. Manscaped, thank you for sending us some really cool gear, some really cool stuff, especially the Lawnmower 3.0. It's kind of changed the way that we are doing men's grooming. So thank you very much. Send it to both all Danny, Bobby, and myself, Justin. So thank you so much. Lawnmower 3.0 has changed our lives. They also have a lot of other really good products like the Crop Preserver. It's like a ball deodorant that keeps your ball from sticking. It keeps your balls from sticking to your legs. I mean, some people only got one ball. I mean, it must be tough for them. Hope it's the left one because I think that hangs lower than the right one. All right, but anyway, thank you to Manscaped. They've been sponsoring some shows. Thank you so much. It's really changed our lives. The stuff that they sent us. They also sent us a nice shirt. Manscaped.com. Use promo code GIANTS to get 20% off and free shipping on any product and any purchase that you purchase on the website. If you use that promo code, you support us. So do it. We love you. And back to your regularly scheduled program.
Like spend their time and do watch draft content because they're insane people. Watch Rashad Weaver. See what my mock had him in the 4th round. He was solid for Pitt this year. Jalen Phillips. Like I said, the injuries did harm him, and he probably will be a late first, early day 2 type of guy. But I'm telling you, there are 2 solid players that you can get. If you don't, there's no reason for the Giants. If Weaver is on the board, you take him, and then you either replace Carter or Ximenez going into camp.
What a convo. And again, it's so crazy that the Giants defense as a whole was able to remain productive despite the top 4 guys on the depth chart. There was a solid stretch of games in the middle of the season there, Danny, where it was their top 4 guys: Carter, Golden, Ximenez, and Carter. Oh my God.
These edge you can't get the names.
I got Marcus Golden on the brain because I love him. Marcus, let's try it again. Marcus Golden, Lorenzo Carter, Kyler Fackrell, and Ximenez. The top 4 guys they were not on the team. They just were not active and they were not on the team. Which is crazy how the defense was still able to remain productive, which is why the main point after that Seattle Seahawks game was really all this defense needs to be elite is an edge rusher. Like that was the main point after that Seahawks game. We weren't thinking about Daniel Jones because he wasn't playing. We were praising the defense, but the one thing we were saying is this defense needs an edge rusher, and we are there. And I still believe that, but I just don't know what the options are this offseason.
I know this obviously doesn't happen in football, but I mean, if I'm the Giants, I'm testing the trade market, seeing what's going on out there because teams are going to want to cut players. I know the Giants aren't in a position to really go after.
In who? That's the thing.
That's the thing. I don't know, but investigate the trade market.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be players out there that wouldn't be available in a regular year.
Yeah. Maybe, I mean, who knows? The Giants are competing for an NFC East title next year, and there's an edge rusher like a Marcus Golden, and we can get him for, you know, a 6th round pick, a 5th round pick. If the Giants are in a position like that next year, sign me up.
Sign me up.
But also knowing that I don't know if the Giants would want to trade for a one-dimensional pass rusher.
They wouldn't.
Who just get to the quarterback. So even though that's kind of like what we need. Okay.
Because we're the New York Giants. We don't do any crazy stuff.
We don't. Hey, but if we're in a win now mode, Joe Judge is gonna slap his dong on the table. Willing to bet. Carter Coughlin, Danny King. I like Carter Coughlin. Good player. Carter Coughlin, 6'3", 236 pounds, age 23. He was drafted in the 7th round of the 2020 NFL draft, 218th overall. Danny, in 2020, he had 17 total tackles, 13 solo tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 2 QB hits, 1 sack, and 5 total QB pressures. And he played a total of 18% of the total snaps this year. So I was wrong. O'Shane Ximenez did not have more snaps than Carter Coughlin. He did have more snaps than Cam Brown, Niko Lalos, and everybody like that. So I thought he had a good year. I mean, there's not a lot to kind of say about Carter Coughlin because he, you know, didn't get a ton of the snaps and he didn't get a ton of opportunities. But one of the things that I have to say about Carter Coughlin is that he was asked to do a lot more than just rush the passer. Like, you know, coming out of college, we a lot of people were saying he is really kind of solely a pass rusher. He doesn't really do a lot of other stuff. And meanwhile, I look at that Seattle game because that was the game where the Giants had nobody at edge. Nobody. You know, they had Jabal Sheard, they had Carter Coughlin, they had Cam Brown, and they were using David Mayo out on the edge too because they just had they needed somebody who was going to stop the run, right? So Carter Coughlin was playing disciplined. He was taking really good angles. He was making some great plays. So for a 7th round pick, I like what we have in him, and I like how he is a really good depth piece on this team right now.
No, he's a great depth piece. I mean, the 2 games he did start, it was his worst graded performances on the year. So obviously, when he was playing though, he made some great plays. That one clip I showed in the Bengals game, it was something so simple. He faked the pass rush. He had Jonah Williams sold hook, line, and sinker. Carl Banks and I might have been Bob Popper. It could have been John Schmeelk. I don't know who it was, but they were showing like him like having a good game, a play against Jonah Williams where like he beat him in a pass rush situation. Carter Coughlin for a 7th round rookie is spectacular. You like usually those players like who I'm trying to think of Big George as the FIFO, however you say his name. He's not even on the team. That was just a shot in the dark. That was just Giants they took a shot, and so far it looks like the Giants might have something in Carter Coughlin. So you can't ask for anything more than what Carter Coughlin did, and maybe give him a year or 2, like you said, the year-free situation. Mm-hmm. But I am excited for what Carter Coughlin's future holds.
The thing is that, you know, he was drafted as an edge rusher and he had, you know, a very, very productive college career where he had a lot of experience and he did put a lot of production and stats on the board during his time in Minnesota. And then he comes here, and when he does get the opportunities, the things that he's doing, the high IQ plays, you know, again, taking good angles, even in the run game. Those are the things, you know, in the limited opportunities that he got, those are the things that kind of give you a little bit of hope. It's like, oh, if you can develop and if you can get stronger, if you can get quicker, if you can get faster, if you can continue to adjust to the NFL game, because I think that was the main reason why he was a 7th round guy. You know, he kind of had low key similar production to Chase Young. That was the thing that was always going around during the draft. But it's like, okay, Chase Young is a different breed of an athlete than Carter Coughlin. So let's stop with this silly comparison. So if he can get a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, a little bit faster, a little bit quicker, maybe he could take a step up. But it's a guy that, again, I'm not going into the year banking on Carter Coughlin as like, yeah, he's going to be like our number 3 edge rusher. I'm not banking on that. But
if you are, you're insane. Let's make that, because people, I think Giants fans at times forget, like when a player has a great year, like, oh, this guy's the next big thing. But it's like he's a 7th round. Yeah. Can't expect the world from him.
No, it's good to have depth. And, you know, that's the one thing that we're hoping to somehow get at edge. But low key, if I'm saying, Lorenzo Carter, Ximenez, we're going to have to pitch them as free agent signings just because there's no other options that we have. Giants only have six draft picks this year. We may have to put a little bit more faith in the Carter Coughlin than we thought. So anything else they have on Carter Coughlin? These final guys are going to be very, very quick.
Yeah. Versatile player.
Yeah.
You cannot like Carter Coughlin.
Yeah. Speaking of a guy, I don't know. I enjoyed watching Carter Coughlin more. But I guess I'm not so surprised by what Carter Coughlin did and, the season that he kind of had, because we were expecting maybe Carter Coughlin to have some flashes, which he did. But a player I was not expecting to have any kind of flashes was Cam Brown. Cam Brown, as I load up his page, Cam Brown, who is 6'5", 233 pounds. He's huge. 6'5", 233 pounds. April 1st, 1998. Like I said, he's 22 years old. I am a month older than Cam Brown, which is crazy. He was drafted in the 6th round, 183rd overall of the 2020 NFL draft. He had on the season no sacks, 1 forced fumble, 12 tackles total, 8 solo, 0 tackles for loss, 3 quarterback hits, and a total of 4 QB pressures, and he played 8% of the snaps. Danny King was not expecting much out of Cam Brown. We didn't really exactly know what position he was going to play. Was he going to play on the inside? Was he going to play interior linebacker? Was he going to play out on the edge? Danny, can you pull up the PFF snap breakdown for Cam Brown in terms of how many snaps he did at inside, how many snaps he did at edge rusher? Or I think most of it had to be edge. That's kind of like what we thought when we drafted him.
For the D, it says he played a total of 87 snaps on the D line. That's all it's telling me.
That's a shame.
Doesn't have the edge position.
They do that for offense. That's so strange.
They do have him marked though as an edge.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh wait, hang on. Detailed positions.
Yeah.
Hang on.
They had to have it.
I got it. 55 as left outside linebacker, 32 as right outside linebacker.
So he didn't play inside at all? No.
No, doesn't have him as down inside.
Yeah, because that's what he did at Penn State. So we had the expectation heading into the year that he was going to solely be an edge rusher, but again, very much a developmental piece, right? The plays that I remember Cam Brown making are hustle plays. So it's not like Carter Coughlin where I'm like, oh, that is like a smart, savvy play, vet play by you, right? But the only plays that I remember Cam Brown making are he's really running, he's really trying to run somebody down and show his athleticism. And that's really it. I'm sure Bobby would tell you, he's more of a film guy. He would tell you, oh, Cam Brown made this play in this game. But I remember just Cam Brown having an effort plays. Sorry, Cam Brown.
I remember during the pre-draft process, I fell in love with Cam Brown, and I remember I mocked him in my mock draft in 2020, but before a certain website got deleted and I couldn't back it up. But that's neither here or there. Cam Brown, yeah, what people said he still had to develop from his like technique perspective, but I mean, what the Giants got out of Cam Brown, it's reason to believe he played the special teams position well. That's how what's his name? Lorenzo Carter made his name via special teams. Yeah, back in April 2020, I just put out like Cam Brown as someone that intrigues me, and he did just that. Right now, do I have more faith in, let's say, Cam Brown or Carter Coughlin? I got Carter Coughlin with more faith. But Cam Brown is certainly a good depth piece to have, and you can't go wrong, as you said, with having depth. And Cam Brown could be that guy. He's not a world beater. He's not going to be one of those outside linebackers that dominates the NFL. He'll make his plays here and there. In the Baltimore Ravens game, he made that like key the running back cut outside. He like chop blocked his knees almost, or like clothesline them, I should say. That was a huge play right there. He made hustle plays. He made plays when needed, and he gave the Giants what they need, a special teams guy that they can run out onto the field for defense. He's got a 34-inch wingspan. That's nuts.
Oh, he's a freak. He's an athletic freak, and he's another guy where you're hoping that he can add some muscle. That was also a thing. Hoping he can add some muscle. He's a big frame, so rooting for you, Cam Brown. I'm more invested in Carter Coughlin, but I definitely think Cam Brown played more out of necessity this year versus actual like hey, it's your skill that's going to get you on the field at this point. We weren't really putting a lot of stock into Cam Brown before the year, but that just goes to show, if this coaching staff can maybe get their hands on these guys for a full off season, right? For a full OTAs, for a full spring mini camp, training camp, etc. Maybe these guys can develop into something here, and maybe we have something. But I'm not willing to put my money on that Cam Brown is going to turn into something. Danny, we'll mention one of the players in passing, but we have two more players to talk about. We'll go quick, but I want to spend some time on the legend of Niko Lalos. The legend that was Niko Lalos this year. So he's a defensive end. He's an edge rusher, 6'5", 270 pounds. He was an undrafted free agent out of Dartmouth. The main thing that attracted me to Niko Lalos was the fact that he was also a long snapper. So the Giants signed another guy. We had how many guys over the offseason? It became a running joke of how many guys over the offseason could snap the ball. But no, Niko Lalos, he was solid, undrafted free agent out of Dartmouth, small school. And he came on, burst through the scenes because LeBron James partially gave him that retweet. Danny, you can probably tell the story a little bit better than I can. He comes in Cincinnati, has the interception, has the pass deflection, and just forced a turnover in like every game that he played. And it was awesome.
I have one thing written down for Niko Lalos. One whole thing. It's legend. That's all you need to know about the guy. He's a legend.
He is.
That's all you need to know about Niko Lalos. He made plays when called upon. He's LeBron. He's the most famous athlete in Cleveland next to LeBron James.
He's from Ohio. Yeah.
Oh, from Ohio. That was just honestly a guess in the dark. I just didn't know how LeBron even knew. I'm surprised LeBron even somehow knew Niko Lalos.
Well, how did you think that happened?
No, I thought LeBron was just a big Niko Lalos guy. Like LeBron in college, LeBron like watches film all night. He's like, Niko Lalos, I like that guy. He's got to be something.
This is the hill I'm gonna die on this year.
Niko freaking Lalos.
I think LeBron James just gave that good luck. I mean, hey, as the second greatest basketball player of all time, a lot of people just unsubscribed. A lot of people just clicked off.
Notice how when LeBron stopped talking about Niko Lalos, Niko Lalos' play deteriorated.
It's true. He didn't. The second LeBron James stopped talking about Niko Lalos, he did not force a turnover in like every game that he played.
So what you're telling me is we need to pay LeBron James to tweet about the Giants every day.
Cameo. Does LeBron James do cameo?
No shot, but if he did, I feel like he would charge an outrageous price.
I would pay as much money as humanly possible. Well, we would all pitch in. I make Snacks pitch in. I make Danny Behan pitch in. I make you pitch in. Bobby would pitch in. We make Mr. Brownstone. Everybody would chip in, right? Patreon chat would chip in, and we would all pay for a cameo by LeBron James. Then we would play it on, so we would post it on social media every week. So, hey, Niko, you're a great man. Ohio bros, you're gonna force turnovers this Sunday, and he did. It was good for 2 weeks.
We figured out how to fix Niko Lalos. I'm gonna DM LeBron. We're buddies.
There you go. He had a pass deflection, interception, fumble recovery the next week against Seattle, which technically, what happened? Something happened. Didn't something happen with Darnay Holmes? Like Darnay Holmes had like some sort. Oh, was that the interception? That was in Cincinnati.
Yeah, Darnay tipped it, and then I believe it ended up in Niko Lalos' arms.
Yeah, which
so
technically.
We gave all the credit to Niko. It should have really gone to Darnay.
Correct.
But it was Niko Lalos, so we had to get excited.
But it was the legend of Niko Lalos. I love it. Not putting any stock in him, if anybody's wondering.
No, not. I expect literally. I'm gonna be honest with you. He's probably not gonna make the team next year.
It's so unfortunate.
Yeah, he's gonna be practice squad maybe at minimum.
We can't pay LeBron James all this money if he's not gonna make the team.
No, if he makes the team, we will somehow get LeBron James to shout out Niko Lalos.
Oh man. All right. Last, but no, not last. Second to last, not least.
The last important one.
The last important one. Jabal Sheard came over. He played 2 teams this year. Came over from Jacksonville. Had a total of 19 combined tackles this year. 10 of them solo, 2 tackles for loss, 4 QB hits, and those numbers were reflective of what he did with the Giants. He didn't play. He played 1 game with the Jaguars, had a forced fumble, but didn't have any tackles. So good for him, at least according to Pro Football Reference. He did have a sack and a half with the Giants. He had 8 total pressures. So I thought Jabal Sheard was kind of good. I thought he was, he, obviously when you're wearing Justin Tuck's number and you do good things, things are going to stick out in your mind a little bit more. But I thought for a guy that we just kind of like picked off the street because we really just needed a body at edge rusher, I kind of enjoyed Jabal Sheardon, what he was able to do and how he was able to be like a two-way kind of good, versatile player.
We said it made sense to bring Kyler Fackrell back. It makes so much sense to bring back Jabal. Crap, how do you say his last name? Sheard. But yeah, the guy provided the Giants what they needed. When injuries happened, he went out there and he played solid. He made plays when needed. He's someone the Giants should honestly consider bringing back. Like my Bud Dupree thing, that's not happening most likely. Bring back Kyler Fackrell, bring back Jabal Sheard, and you got yourself depth. And then you got to hope and pray Lorenzo Carter is still halfway decent. I know Ximenez can actually play at an NFL level. But I would be disappointed if that was our unit, but I wouldn't once again be like, oh God, this unit's awful. I would be like, okay, maybe they can hold their own.
And last but not least, as I load up his Pro Football Reference page, Trent Harris. Trent Harris, 6'2", 255 pounds. He's 25 years old. Thought he was a lot older than that. Played on 2 teams in his NFL career. 2019 with Miami, so you had the Patrick Graham connection there the previous year. Trent Harris this year with the Giants played in 4 games. He started 2 games, had a half a sack, 5 total tackles, 1 solo tackle, no tackles for loss, 1 QB hit, and he did have 1 lonely pressure.
I didn't even remember Trent Harris was on this team. I didn't know who Trent Harris was until you mentioned him.
And we covered all the edge rushers that finished the season on the Giants. We didn't cover Marcus Golden because that's like a Bobby Skinner rule. Bobby Skinner does not review like players that are traded. Like the season that last year when Janoris Jenkins was released, we did not review him for the cornerback review. I'm like, why are we not reviewing him? He played the majority of the snaps. He's like, no, he didn't really end the year on the team. So, there you go.
Trent Harris, just I don't know what you're going to do. I don't know where your home is.
Home ain't where the heart is. Home ain't where the heart is. It's good Shania Twain song. All right, Danny King, thank you so much for joining me on this episode. I thought this was a fun time. I thought this was a fun show. I have to include somewhere an ad read for Manscaped now that I'm thinking of it, because I did forget it. So I will record that after we're done, and I will include that in myself. Okay. Thanks for watching, everybody. Peace, 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 peace. Keep on talking Giants. Keep on bleeding blue. That's what I was about to say because I'm so used to saying that. We will see you on Friday. Thursday if you're the Patreon chat, Friday if you're the regular crew. We'll see you then. Don't know what we're doing. We may do a Daniel Jones review. We may not. I don't know. Depends on where Bobby's at. And let's go Big Blue.